here, it's probably because you care about how sustainability fits into our business, and or maybe you're curious about the bigger HP view of sustainability. I think our challenge is to find ways to improve the sustainability of our business in ways that are long-lasting, because they make business sense, and that means we have to do practical things and understand how it supports our business. And my view is we can grow HP's business through sustainability. We have customers who care, opportunities to save money, and what I hope you'll do as I walk through this and see some of the connections between what we're doing at HP and Indigo or at Cytex for the markets you address and how that works in the company as a whole. So Dion has been very vocal about the role of sustainability in our business as a principle that guides how we do work and how we fulfill HP's vision to make life better for everyone, everywhere. When we talk about sustainability in this context, the definition we're using covers three major things. It covers environment, materials that are in our products, how much energy they use, the materials we recycle, and so on. So in our operations, in our supply chain, and at the end of the life of the product or solution with the customer. We also talk about social responsibility. So how we run our own operations, and also how we manage our suppliers and what we expect from them, and the impact our products can have when people use them in the market. And then we include integrity as a strong foundation based in human rights, in ethics, in the privacy of customer data as well as employee data. So it's a broad scope. So why is Dion so focused? Part of it is that sustainability has been part of HP's way of looking at the world for many years. 60 years ago, when Hewlett-Packard first wrote down their objectives for the young HP, they made global citizenship, as they called it then, an objective for the company. And this was a very unique concept at that time. The general view was that a company existed to make money. And even the type of social responsibility reflected in charitable donations was a new thing at that time. So we've had this since our founding. And I think for many of us that have been with the company a long time, it's something we care about, and it's part of why we take pride in being at HP. There are two other reasons why sustainability has been so prominent. So that one in the middle, that's the employee part. And even more as we recruit younger people around the world to come work at our company, we find that this is something they look for in a company. It's fundamental to them that the company reflect the values they have and has a positive social impact in the world. Probably the biggest reason why our executive team cares about sustainability is that they see it really matters to our customers. In FY16, something like $14 billion of new and potential business for HP depended on sustainability. Some of this was business that relies on eco-labels. Much of it were what came in the form of bids and tenders, where HP had to address specific questions from the customer to be considered in the bid. We didn't win all of that business, of course, but for a $50 billion company to be able to point to a $14 billion potential impact, it gets our executives' attention. And then lastly, we see increasingly investors paying attention to sustainability. To pick just one example, 5 of HP Inc.'s 10 biggest investors request data from the Carbon Disclosure Project, which requires transparent reporting of carbon footprint and efforts to reduce it and mitigate climate change. So when 5 of your 10 biggest investors care about something, your chief financial officer pays attention. So we have a strong foundation now to pay attention to sustainability. And it's my view that we can contribute to growing HP's business by contributing through sustainability, to part of making HP's vision to create technology that makes life better for everyone, everywhere. We can help make that come true through our sustainability programs. So what I want to do in the next few minutes is show you a few examples of how we can do that. So to turn it into action, I think about this pyramid of activities. The first one is based in our people, and having people who have the right expertise and the right and are inspired to address sustainability in the context of their jobs. The next thing in the pyramid is to deliver those things that we most fundamentally need in order to be able to sell to our customers. If our products aren't compliant, if we don't meet customer market requirements like eco-labels in many markets, we don't have the opportunity to sell. And then we can build on top of that, building sustainability into newer products and business models and really differentiating HP. And at the very top of the pyramid, there's an opportunity for us to lead the company and lead the industry by setting goals and really being a trusted and preferred brand. This pyramid is also shaped that way because the proportions of our work look about like this too. The big work really goes into ensuring these foundations, if you look at people and where they spend their time, but there's a real opportunity for us to create important progress for our business and a changed perception by our customers through that work that we build on top of that strong foundation. So how do we put that strategy into action? In many ways, we're responding to a set of megatrends that our customers are responding to also. Things like the growth of the sharing economy, where access becomes more important than ownership. And our consumer customers are transitioning that way just as our business customers are. Customers are moving more toward contractual, relationship-based ways of doing business from transactional ones. Those solutions are enabled by big data and the analytics you can do on it. At the same time, customers have more expectations of us, and this is true for PCs and for home and office printing as well as it is for the graphics business, where they expect us to manage the whole supply chain before a product comes to them. And whether or not it's something HP did or our supplier or even our supplier's supplier's supplier. Finally, around the world you have a growing middle class, and that middle class would like to experience many of the things that we do. In order for that to happen, that means we have to find ways to deliver that don't use as many resources as we do today. Otherwise, the growth of that middle class will be limited, and that means we're limiting our own customer base. So our growth, our customers' growth, depends on finding ways to accommodate that growing middle class. This leads us to three key focus areas for where HP can differentiate in terms of sustainability in that big spectrum that we talked about. Let me start on the right. The first one is around how our products are used. If you step back and ask, what does HP make and how does that deliver something for the world? We create the opportunity for people to be creative in many different ways. But our technology is also a way to enhance education and to include more people in the modern world. And through our personal systems, the way in which people can create with our printing products, ultimately the way 3D printing may give many more people access to manufacturing technology, we have the opportunity to improve the lives of many people. Moving over here to the left, through our work on our responsible supply chain and setting directions around, what we expect from our suppliers in terms of their labor practices, health and safety, environment and ethics, we can ensure that people in our supply chain have safe, fair working conditions. And then finally, we can really differentiate by moving to a more circular economic approach and a low carbon solution on a big scale. So put this slide in to give you an illustration of how we can use education to further lives of many people. There's something like 65 million displaced people in the world today, and many people who cross international borders. I think we've all seen the huge migration of people from Northern Africa over the last months and years. And HP has partnered with a number of other companies to try to provide access to technology so that people can develop their skills as an entrepreneur, to connect with family, and have a chance to continue the education of their children. In our supply chain, we've taken those same kind of social responsibility ideas and brought 3 principles to bear to ensure that every person is treated with dignity and respect in the factories of our suppliers, to extend that commitment beyond the factory floor to worker management communication, to health education, finance education, oftentimes the things that a young person separated from their family needs in order to be able to take care of themselves and represent themselves in the workplace. And then lastly, we've been able to drive a lot of industry change. HP was the first in our industry to make these types of commitments and to set these expectations with our suppliers. And now something like 100 companies have joined us in that broad approach. I'm going to spend the rest of my time talking about carbon and circular economy. This is HP's carbon footprint from our sustainability report that published last week. And what's significant about it is where our carbon footprint comes from. A small part of it comes from our operations, and it's partly small because of the good work we've done in our operations. The biggest parts of it come from our supply chain and from the use of our products, the paper or energy that are used by our products. So these are the things that we're working on across the spectrum of the company to further reduce our carbon footprint. And we've set goals for all of those. We're also trying to transition to what we call a more circular economy, one where we keep materials at their highest state of value. So we use materials, and instead of taking them out of the ground, making them into something, using them up and discarding them, we keep using them. The Indigo business is a great example of how to do all of these things. To maintain and upgrade the product so you keep getting benefit from it, to deliver it as a service that creates every incentive for us to minimize waste so that we make more money, to reusing or refurbishing the product when it's done with its first life, and then finally, when those things can't be done anymore, to recycle the materials so they can be used again. I'm going to give you 3 quick illustrations of how we do that circular economy. Okay. So this one is about PCs and repairability. HP has made a real focus in our design for PCs to enable repair, which is a contrast to some other companies. The second one is around inkjet cartridges like this one, where we take plastic from our own cartridges that customers give us back. We add about 1 million water bottles a day, or coat hangers, depending on the plastic, and we make new cartridges. About 3.5 billion so far with significant recycled content, so a big scale. The next area is this service, Instant Ink, where we sell a customer ink on a monthly subscription. We don't do this in Israel yet. We're rolling it out in various countries around the world. But because we can sell the customer a bigger cartridge without retail packaging, we take a lot of the waste out and a lot of the cost out. And finally, graphics business, I don't need to tell you that when you can move to printing on demand instead of big offset press printing runs, not only do you waste less paper that's printed, you take other real costs and environmental impacts out of the supply chain. Inventory, warehouse space, real differences. The same concept's going to work in 3D printing. You get the perfect matching of supply and demand. Let me just share a last example of how 3D printing can do that. Maybe you've had this experience. Has any of you ever had an appliance that had some small plastic part break, and you thought about maybe now's the time to get a new one? So this is my dishwasher handle. Goes right there. Fortunately, my dishwasher still works without it. If you injection mold this part when it was new, it probably cost 20 cents. On Amazon, it's about $40. So for my 12-year-old dishwasher, you probably wouldn't replace it. 3D printing really has the ability on the right to change that, to be able to make a part like that on demand without having to store it for 10 or 12 years, just in case somebody wants to order it. So let me close here with one last example to show you how we can bring all of these ideas together. Last week, we announced that HP is beginning to ship cartridges with plastic that comes from one of the poorest countries in the world, from Haiti. So this is a landfill in Haiti where you have a number of people who collect bottles as a way to make a small living. HP has now added these to our closed loop plastic that we use to make cartridges. And this is one of the first cartridges we're shipping that contains that type of plastic. So we're meeting our environmental goal at a competitive price to what we do with plastic bottles from developed countries. We're meeting a social goal in our supply chain, and this money provides a stable income and school fees for the children of these families. So I hope I've left you with the idea that through sustainability, we can really help the business to grow and do it in ways that can build pride in the company and really help make a better world at the same time as we drive our business. Thanks.